I'm State Representative John Bryant from Dallas. Progress Texas is leading the way here, protecting the public interest from a legislature that's always been dominated by lobbyists, big money, and these billionaires now are on the scene, and we have to have a strong voice that's urging particularly the Democrats to stay faithful to their campaign promises and protect the public. We need to stick together, and Progress Texas is helping us do that. Our case for the public interest is the one that makes sense, and the other side is typically trying to steer things in a way that helps only some individuals at the expense of the public. So Progress Texas is keeping a rational analysis in the picture and helping us move forward.
It's Tuesday, April 14th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Progress Texas amplifies progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no-paywall podcasts and digital media, we reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's made possible by folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans for Texans. Thanks so much to Wayne Owens, Shannon Walton, and Linda Melanson for their ongoing sustaining support. We really appreciate it. Seems like just about everybody was shocked and appalled at Donald Trump's portrayal of himself as Jesus the Healer online over this last weekend. Just about everybody, except Trump himself, of course, who says he thought the bizarre AI image portrayed him as a doctor, which tells you about how much quality time the guy spends with religious materials from day to day. Just about everybody, except Texas Republican electeds who are well-trained to zip it when the dear leader starts doing insane stuff. Allison Ackerman at the Houston Chronicle noticed that there's no comment at all on this blast of blasphemy from the boss, from Governor Greg Abbott or Senator Ted Cruz or Attorney General Ken Paxton or any other elected GOP type in Texas, really. Other Texas notables aren't quite as taciturn about it. Retired astronaut and former congressional candidate Terry Virts tweeted the fairly obvious, quote, "The president needs a mental wellness check," unquote. Not everybody on the right wing in Texas is still blinders on. One conservative Dallas area influencer piped up that Trump's post shows, quote, "What happens when Paula White is your personal pastor and people around you are continually comparing you to Christ," unquote. And curiously, the just about everybody with their jaw on the floor at our president's bizarre self-preoccupation doesn't include the Texas Democratic Party, whom Ackerman says in regard to this latest low-hanging fruit, quote, "have also remained largely quiet with no coordinated statewide response and no major office issuing a formal statement as of Monday," unquote. Let's get those gloves off, y'all. Major developments on West Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, as we told you yesterday, under a second accusation of sexual misconduct against his female employees. J. David Goodman at the New York Times says Gonzalez announced his resignation from Congress yesterday under intense bipartisan pressure. A similar announcement came yesterday from California Democrat Eric Swalwell, who had also been targeted with sexual assault allegations. Gonzalez has not specified an exact departure date, and once he's out, it remains uncertain if Governor Greg Abbott will call a special election to fill his seat before November. That likely will hinge in part on what California Governor Gavin Newsom decides to do about his state's new vacancy in a very safe Democratic district in California. Newsom's likely to move fast to replace Swalwell, and in fact, he's compelled by California state law to declare a special election within 2 weeks, which by the timing of it all would have that special election landing close to the June 2nd California primary. Let's note that back here in Texas, Governor Abbott left Houston's Congressional District 18 seat vacant with no representation in D.C. at all for those Texans for almost a full year after the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner in March of last year, in a district that was similarly all but certain to replace Turner with another Democrat. While CD 23 leans Republican, it is much more competitive, and given the fortunes lately in Texas for Republicans in special elections in supposedly safe areas, Tarrant County State Senate District 9, for example, where Democrat Taylor Ramett wiped the floor with MAGA darling Lee Wamsgans late last year, there's reason for Governor Abbott to worry here. Gabby Birnbaum at the Texas Tribune notes that both of the current CD 23 nominees, Democrat Katie Padilla Stout and Republican Brandon the AK Guy Herrera, would be expected to enter a special election, which actually would be open to multiple candidates from any party. Jasper Shearer, also at the Trib, reminds us of that time back in 2018 when Republican Congressman Blake Farenthold, remember that greasy clown, resigned from Congress on April 6th of that year in the midst of his own sexual harassment scandal. Governor Abbott set the special election to replace Farrant hold for June 30th, less than 3 months after he left. But that was in the very Republican-friendly CD27 down on the coast, where there was very little risk of a Democratic flip. Michael Cloud won that election and has served as a loyal MAGA lackey in the Congress ever since. In the less secure CD23, the governor might have second thoughts. We shall soon find out. To Dallas, where Maria Trejon Martinez at KERA says Dallas Congresswoman Julie Johnson was joined by California Congressman Joe Morrell as the two met with Dallas County officials yesterday to look into voter disenfranchisement that marred the March 3rd primaries. Testimony from local leaders revealed that approximately 30,000 Dallas County voters were redirected on Election Day due to polling location confusion, with many of the so-called navigators in place to help, instead failing to provide proper confirmation of the correct sites for those voters to head for. Over 1,000 ballots cast early in the morning on primary election day were reportedly never counted at all. Congressman Morrell can perhaps be forgiven for being taken aback at Texas's archaic voting systems, lacking the modern convenience of online voter registration, a cutting-edge technology, of course, that's now the standard across 43 of these United States and Washington, D.C., and has been in use in places like Arizona since 2002. In response to the chaos tied directly to the Dallas County Republican Party's insistence on a separate partisan primary this year, Congresswoman Johnson has introduced the Voter Outreach for Transparent Elections, or VOTE Act, which would mandate that election administrators notify the public of polling changes at least 1 week in advance. She says, quote, "What happened in Dallas County is important because it marks the beginning of a broader pattern in how the 2026 midterm elections may play out," unquote. And to Houston, for years, the first and favorite punching bag, state Republicans dead set against local control in Texas, target for punching. Abby Church, Matt DeGrude, and the aforementioned Allison Ackerman at the Houston Chronicle say Governor Abbott has launched a scorched earth campaign against the city, threatening to yank $110 million in public safety grants in a move local officials are describing as unlawful intimidation and direct retaliation against a revised Prop A immigration ordinance, which limits local Houston police officers' cooperation with the serving of civil ICE warrants. The gloves are definitely off for the state here. Mayor John Whitmire has been warned that Houston must revoke their ICE policy by April 20th or face immediate grant termination, complete with a mandate that the city return the entire $110 million within 30 days. Houston City Council member Abby Kamen astutely accuses Governor Abbott of effectively defunding the police by targeting financial resources earmarked for our state's biggest city's police officers, firefighters, and other emergency responders, adding that the state is also threatening essential ongoing operations, including homeland security tasks and preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It is a mess, and it's going to get messier, and we're watching. There are not one but two Texas elections approaching, local city-level elections on May 2nd and the statewide primary runoffs on May 26th. Early voting in those local elections starts on April 20th, less than a week away now, and for the midterm runoffs, your registration deadline is April 27th, less than 2 weeks away. Early voting for the runoff begins May 18th. More on all of this at our carefully crafted voting information website, govotetexas.org. And we've also got a nice online tool from the Texas Tribune that shows you exactly who will be on your runoff ballot based on your address and party. See that link in the show notes. Here at Progress Texas, we're excited to see you at our 16th anniversary celebration in Dallas with drinks, light bites, and a fun review of the highlights of our successes over the last few years. Save the date, which is Tuesday, June 16th, and see the link in our show notes this morning to reserve your spot. Hit the website, too, to snag the merch to match your values. Our web store is live at ProgressTexas.org with newly released Humans Against Abbott, Y'all Means All, and our very popular Resist shirts, stickers, and buttons. Hit the web store at ProgressTexas.org to support your favorite podcast network today. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. When lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, your support for fact-based reporting is needed and appreciated. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a terrific day. We'll catch you again right here tomorrow morning.